Hey team, this is Ripper here. Hope you guys are doing fantastic today. And this is a video that was requested by a fan, and I really appreciate the ideas because sometimes my brain doesn't work very well to come up with very, very cool ideas. And I thank the those that are supporting the channel, those that are watching, and for those that are here for the first time. Thank you. It's really helping me out, and also it's great for the community as well because we want to build, I would say, good camaraderie, a good community, and just having a blast doing this. And look, I said I get nothing out of this. I don't have any sponsors. No, I don't get paid for the channel or anything. This is just fun, a hobby of mine, and it's something I'm really grateful to have. And it's a good learning experience at the same time because we're learning something every day. So anyway, before we begin, like, subscribe, bell button below. Appreciate all the support again. And let's get right to it. The name of the video is, if I was a beginner, what kind of tech tree line would I go down and why? And so as you can see in the background here, I can just show you what just my methodical process is. When I'm just pretending now, here are the assumptions that I am a brand new person to this game, as most people are today. I started this game about, I would say, in 2019, that's about 4 years ago now. So about 2019, I started it, and I didn't know what to do. I just saw videos. I saw a commercial for it. I think I was out in Hawaii. I visited USS Missouri. They handed out a card, and boom, lo and behold, I saw a commercial on YouTube, and that sold me because I like the whole aspect of guns brawling and shooting and everything. That was the fun part back in the day, but a lot of you may disagree with that. It's not the same case. It's not brawling anymore. Again, that's another video for another time, but that's what drew me to it. And then when I got the game, it was free to play, where you can just literally just start right away and just, download it. At the back in the day, it was downloading. Now I just kind of portal in through NVIDIA, the Go thing, Go GeForce Now, whatever. And I didn't know what line really to go down, but what really drew me, and then this is how my thought process is. I'm assuming you're a new player. I just went to the USA line. Why? Because I live in America, and it's half these ships I know, I've seen, or I've read about, or I've visited on. And it was really, really cool. So I said, wow, these ships, I think the American line looks really, really cool. And being an American here, living here, and being in the military is just something that, hey, you know what, why not support it? So now, granted, this is not the same tech tree line that was back in the day, but I will go through, if you're a beginner today, and as we are from today at 2023 going forward. So which line would I recommend, and what country and what tech tree line would I go down? So the first one I thought about was, well, let's go down the American line, and that's probably the first one to go to that I saw. And which one did I really see that I really enjoyed first? Honestly, it was the Destroyer line, which is over here on the right here. Destroyer, as you can see, Destroyer, highlighted below. And then the next one is Battleship, because why? Battleship and the Destroyer lines was really interesting because it caught my attention because destroyers were fast-firing guns, low detectability, high speed, more action-packed. And you can read right there, the description says it right there: light, fast, maneuverable ships without less armor, but good for reconnaissing key areas, support allies, smoke screens, torpedoing, shooting. Literally did everything, and that's all the videos that I saw. And then the next one, obviously, is battleships. I saw a lot of YouTube videos of guys, like back in the day, it was Massachusetts as a premium. Again, I won't talk about premium ships because, again, if you're a brand new person in this game, that's not your priority, spending money right away. If you want to grind and go down a line, this is what I recommend, and this is what I did. Okay, again, this is just my opinion, what I did. You guys can do it whatever you want. It's just something that somebody requested. But battleships, powerful artillery, long-range firing. Biggest one that sold on me was the secondaries, because if you look on some of these battleships, there's guns all over the thing, and that's what sold me again, was just cool-looking guns all over the crazy decks of the ships, and they're all firing and blazing, and it's just so cool to watch. And if anything, just for the artwork of it, I like looking, because I built model battleships back in the day. It was really cool to watch the artwork of, just looking at these battleships and seeing, wow, look at the level of detail. I mean, just look at something like the Iowa, which is a actual class, of battleship that actually exists. And you can just see it, and like I'll preview the ship. And why? Let's see here. Let me go look at it again. Check tree line. I'm sorry, they're driving here. Driving and causing confusion and dizziness here, but anyways, the Iowa, just look at how gorgeous this thing is, and I really look at it for the intrinsic value, the artwork. The art department does a great job, and I mean, no other game really does this level of detail for such, I would say for the gameplay style that it is, and just seeing all the guns are so cool. They move, they operate. The background is amazing. The artwork and the art department are killer. employees and I would say entrepreneurs there. They do a great job. And here's what the selling point was: all these guns, like the secondaries, 127 millimeter guns, all over the deck, Bofors cannons all over the place, all firing in unison. Just really cool to see, just like an armored fortress. And that's what I think most games really fail and lack in outside of World of Warships. Honestly, there's not really many games that compete with this level of detail and quality, and that's what really drew me to it. So let's go back to it. So what would I grind down? Going back to the tech tree line, the first one was when I first started out, for the amount of money and the amount of grinding, was really the destroyer line. So I started off with the American destroyer line. So obviously you start with Erie, the Chester. They give you, I think at the back in the day, they were just giving these away. They were one of my first ships, and they're not expensive. Now, credits is very hard to come by in the very beginning because you got to play the games, you got to play the co-op, you have to do everything right off the bat to get money. You don't have much free XP like you see me have here. I didn't have doubloons, so really it was just grinding down, and you have to purchase. Now, when you buy things, you also had to, back in the day, buy commanders. Nowadays, you can actually go into battle without having a commander equipped. Like, you notice some of these ships don't have commanders at the top or something like that. So look at my Farragut here. I have a commander like armed right there. But if you look at some of the ships prior to that, they don't have, if I didn't buy it, I don't have any commanders armed with those. So really, it's up to you how you want to spend your money. But I went down the Samson, Wicks, Clemson, Nicholas, Farragut is the first one, really started costing a little bit more money. The Mahan, the Benson. Now, the ones that I really enjoyed was really the Benson, the Fletcher, and the Gearing. Why? Well, the Fletcher, as you can see, again, and there's a YouTube video out there that I think Sea Lord Mountainbound just did. He took a tour of the USS Kidd, which is kind of like the same Fletcher class right here, a class of destroyers. They're all, the names are the same, but they're all the same kind of model. You say like Lamborghini is like the class of ship, and then Lamborghini Aventador, Countach, all that stuff. That's the different models. So like that's with the Fletcher, the Kidd, and so forth. Like the black, they all look like this. And actually, if you've seen the movie Greyhound with Tom Hanks, this is one of the USS Kidds where they filmed it on, and this is exactly what it looks like. There might be slight modifications to it, but again, why do I like this class so much more? Is because 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 guns that shoot really fast. That's what I like, fast-firing guns, right? And then the other one is the torpedoes. The torpedoes is another ability that provides the offensive capability of the destroyer line, because it's another weapon that really packs a lot of damage and punch, and they're very unsuspecting. They're very cool. They also provide a lot of, the destroyer provides AA back in the day when AA was good. AA is all over these things. USS Kidd had one of the best in the game. And that's really it. I mean, the concealment is great on these destroyers. Now, submarines have the best concealment. That's another topic for another day. And then the other one is it provides smoke. So if you can see that there's a smoke screen, if you go to the equipment of it, there's a smoke screen, offensive and defensive capability of it, where you pop smoke, you create a wall that's basically hiding ships in or visual line of sight, and that is exactly why a lot of the capabilities of a destroyer are very important. The other one was the Gearing, my favorite. When I first got the Gearing, I was so stoked and excited because this is one of my, I think it's just looking cool. This destroyer is one of the coolest looking destroyers I've ever seen, really in the game, and it still holds today. Even though it may not be the strongest destroyer anymore, it still just looks cool, and that's what I like about it. Very classic design. The conning tower here, the guns, 127 millimeters. Although I wish the guns fired like the other destroyers shoot, and battleships have better secondaries. And I don't know. I don't understand what the logic is behind all this, because these are literally, if you saw earlier, they're the secondary guns on battleships of the American line, but they don't shoot the same way as the Gearing's guns. So I don't understand the logic and realism about all that. But anyways, I digress. Again, torpedoes. These torpedoes do great hella damage. You can see 2x5s, 16.5 kilometers, which is a long range for this game. Speed is not the greatest, but the damage you can see right there is about 17,900 damage. So that they do provide a good punch, and you got offensive capabilities. AA is there, but it's still trash in my personal opinion. You got the depth charge in the back, which you can use, but again, going against submarines these days, you got to drive over them, which is not a very smart tactic these days in World of Warships. And it has smoke screens as well. So that is the one line I would grind down, the destroyer line. If you guys are brand new to this channel, brand new to the game, I would recommend going down the Gearing line if you want to focus on the Gearing side of the destroyer line. So let's go back. Let's talk about the battleship side. Now, my second way was grinding down was actually going down the battleship line. The battleship line was fun because it provided more armor capabilities, as you can see here. The South Carolina, the Wyoming, they look great. By the way, the design of the ship looks awesome. If you're for it, the design and the intrinsic value of this game, it's really really cool. The other aspect of this, Wyoming, New York, real ships, New Mexico. I even have, there was the Arizona. I don't think Arizona is here. It's in the premium, but the Arizona class and all the New Mexico class, they all look similar. I actually built these ships growing up as a kid. I think you go to the arts and crafts store, you buy those little plastic models. You guys remember those? And that's exactly how the ships are built. And here they are. They look exactly just like when I built them. Airplane on the back of the deck with the crane. I remember breaking this as a kid. And look at that, 12 guns of sheer fury. Just really, really awesome. What kind of guns are these, by the way? I forget. Yep, 356 millimeter. Mark 11 turrets, and those really, really awesome right there. And then, of course, the secondaries. Now, the secondaries are like not as powerful, but there are a lot of them. That's why I like them. I like seeing all these guns all over the deck. But the other cool thing is the fact that they're just all over the deck shooting, and that's really, really cool to see. Although they don't provide as much offensive capability, I think, until you get to the higher levels. That's why I don't like the tier 5, tier 6 levels, because the secondaries are not as effective. So I went down this line. Now, granted, right here, this is where they all split up. So we didn't have all 3 lines. What I did was I granted down what the traditional line was down the Colorado, the North Carolina, beginning with the North Carolina, which is really cool to see. Here's the North Carolina. If you see, it's basically kind of like an Iowa class right there, but the North Carolina class. I think Massachusetts was my first one, kind of like this style as well. I didn't really play the Carolina because I just went straight to buying a Massachusetts. But again, if you're not spending money, this is the way I would go down. There's all the secondaries on the side, which are my favorite. And then here are the 9 406 millimeter guns, which are really, really cool. Massachusetts also has the same. It's kind of basically the same design as a Massachusetts. Really, really awesome. North Carolina, but the Massachusetts has improved secondaries, which is why I wish that all secondaries fired the same way. Why can't they all be like Massachusetts secondaries or accurate German secondaries? Because that's the whole point of the game. Why am I playing a ship that fires all over the place and misses everything? I mean, that's not the point. But anyways, that's the North Carolina, and then I grinded down to the Iowa class. If you don't know what the Iowa class is, go look up the history. Very, very powerful history. Gulf War, World War II. At the end of World War II, they signed and they have the Missouri, the Wyoming. I'm sorry, I believe it's Wisconsin. The Iowa, Wisconsin, the Missouri, and one more. I just can't think of the top of my head right now. But basically, this is the ship that is really, really the bread and butter of the American Navy back in the day. They got rid of turrets in the modern world and fired Tomahawk missiles. Don't give you ideas, wargaming. But yeah, secondary is cool. Firing, if you can build out to it, they go out to 10.5. I think Massachusetts and Ohio and Georgia, all of them go out to 11.3. Why can't all secondaries do that? I don't know. Wargaming has a weird sense of humor about that. 9 406 millimeter guns. Just look at the coolness. The ship is awesome because it's quick, it's maneuverable, the guns work, they're accurate. It does what it needs to do for a well-rounded battleship. I think the American line is just a very well-rounded battleship. It has the secondaries, it has the guns, it has the armor, it has whatever you need just to start out the game, just to get to understand the mechanics of it, the tactics, and so forth. And that's why I really enjoy it. And then obviously the creme de la creme. Going back to the tech tree line, right after Iowa, you get the kind of like, I would say, paper blueprint ship where it didn't really exist. They did have it on blueprints that they were thinking about building, but the Montana. You can see the Montana has the same secondary, kind of similar secondaries, but, basically 5 sets of these 127 millimeter guns on the side, just a little bit different Mark 16s now. And they have the 12 of the 406 millimeters, which I enjoy. I like having more guns, more bang, more buck, right? So basically, this is what if you stretched out the Iowa and the Missouri class and Wisconsin class, you would get this kind of battleship. And this is what really it would look like, and it's just one extra set of guns and just a little bit wider, a little bit more armor. So that's what I would grind down. And the Montana still to this day can hold its own, and it's got a big wallop, big punch. It's maneuverable. It's got good armor. Its survivability is great. I think this is probably a good start for those that are just starting the game for that kind of entertainment. And that's how I grind it down. So I would have grinded down the destroyer and then the battleship line. Now today, you also have these extra lines that they're adding, so I'm going to go through them. The Kansas, Minnesota, and Vermont line, if you can see, they're a little bit thicker, a little bit wider, and I'll just show you what it leads up to because everybody always goes to tier 10. Vermont is essentially a big, fat, chunky I don't know what this thing is, the Juggernaut, you want to call that. It's just really, really big ship. Look at this. You got 12 457 millimeter guns, a little bit bigger, a little bit more punch, right? More bang for your buck. I don't see as many secondaries. Yeah, there's only 8 on each side now. But look at the side of this board here. I think they talk about on YouTube channels that this is literally a billboard for you to say, shoot me right here to blow me up. I mean, look at this thing. It's so flat. It's so wide. It's easy to shoot from long distance. You pretty much aim. You put your reticle, like if you saw this right here, you should be literally jumping down in your chair and you just aim right there. And most of the shells, based on ballistics and dispersion and sigma, they should land and score you a nice maybe citadel, depending on your ship, your shell, velocity, ballistics, and so forth of the game, and sigma, and obviously RNG. But this ship is a behemoth. I mean, look how much armor you get. Sorry, there it is, 102,000. Not many ships in this game go above 100,000, 6 figures right there. That is impressive. So if you like survivability, you like big guns, here you go. And they've kind of buffed this ship a little bit more. It actually goes a little faster, maneuvers a little bit better. So that's that. Let's go back to the tech tree line. So that is the big behemoth, kind of the line for. I call it the gargantuan or juggernaut style. Montana, North Carolina, Iowa is more sleek, more fast. The very beginning, the old school battleship style. Now, if you're into the whole, hey, let's get a new hybrid and getting kind of wild here, you got the Louisiana, Delaware, Nebraska style, which are the hybrid ships. Now, I don't play these as much. I've got the Kearsarge, which is essentially kind of the same thing, but this is what you got. This does not exist in reality, in my opinion. This is kind of just schematics, blueprints, what if kind of style battleship play, where you're combining basically the aspects of all battleships and a carrier together. You got the big 406 millimeter guns. That's looking ridiculous right here. 4 turret gun system. That would be so powerful right there if you had all these in the front. You would have what? 4 times 3, 12 guns all together. Be like a Montana with the secondaries right here as well. Pretty cool. I do wish the secondaries fired very accurately, but again, that would make it overpowered. Look at the amount of guns are on one side that could fire in one direction. That just looks cool to me. Unfortunately, they don't do that. And then, of course, you got the airplanes, which are already overpowered in a sense because they can fly unlimited planes, fly all over the map, and yada, yada, yada. That's another day, another talk. But this is the kind of gameplay style that if you want to play that line, I don't recommend going down this line right off the bat because for newer players, just getting the hang of just planes and doing everything, just managing the game and learning how the mechanics and the gameplay work alone is already overwhelming. After that, you can go down the cruiser line, which if I was going to go down the cruiser line, I recommend going down the Des Moines line. So you go down the basics and they split off right at Omaha. I would go down Pensacola, New Orleans, Baltimore, Buffalo, and then Des Moines. Basically, these are fast-firing gun, the cruisers. And the beautiful thing about them is that near the Tier 8, I believe, Tier 8, Tier 9, they have radar. Which allows you to just basically spot destroyers in smoke or spot something hidden behind an island or within 10 kilometers. That's the range of the radar. But the biggest thing, it is fast-firing guns that shoot a lot. You got hydro, you got radar. But the downside is you get citadel very easily and you get taken out of the game very, very quickly from the big boy battleships. So, again, if you like that kind of gameplay style, that's right, my recommendation. Going down the Worcester line, the grinding here, it is a lot of work for little gain because these things are also light cruisers but very, very easily killed. I don't recommend that one. Again, that is for later. If you're just bored with the game, you want to start, that's my opinion. I am not talking about submarines because I do not like submarines, so I will not go down that. That is the new destroyer because they have the best concealments in the game. Best torpedoes are homing. Yeah, that's another topic. If you really want to see a different aspect of the game, you can grind down the carrier or CV line. That is a whole new aspect of the game. But again, this is called World of Warships, not World of Airplanes. So I don't really appreciate the airplane aspect. I tried it. It is fun for the initial, like, yay, I get to fly around, look at the map, and I'm pretending like I'm like a bird in the sky, and I get to see all the battleships and shoot them from the sky. But now you're just kind of playing God, and you're bombing them from the sky where they don't have any way of defending against you other than nice fireworks in the sky. And that's pretty much kind of how the game is for CV. So it's just too boring in my personal opinion nowadays because the CVs are just overpowered. They spot everything and have all these weird gimmicks, and you have unlimited airplanes. It's not as fun. My son likes playing it, so I leave it there for him to play. But that's kind of like what I would start with. What's the next line I would go down? I would go down the German line. All right. The reason why I went down the German line is because really right here, the battleship line. I could care less about the cruiser. I could care less about the destroyer. I seriously, I've only grinded down to the Z-52 line just maybe a few months ago. And I'll have to say, I really still don't play it. I really don't enjoy it that much. What I really do enjoy is the battleship line. Now, why did I say that? Because for the secondaries, why did I, again, remember at the beginning of the video, I said I joined the game for seeing brawling and secondaries. So I would go down the, let's see, what is it now? Yep. Either Nassau, Kaiser, Koning, Bayern, Gneisenau, Bismarck, and then starting at Bismarck, you get a little bit more secondaries. Back in the day, it was the Tirpitz for premium. I believe the Tirpitz is still for sale. Correct me if I'm wrong, but yeah, the Bismarck and the Tirpitz were in history, and they had the cool secondaries. FDG, Federgross, I don't know how to pronounce that. FDG, I just say, has the secondaries as well. Really good, fast firing. I mean, look at the stats here. You have 105 millimeters, 8 of them on total, and then you have 150 millimeter, and they pen 38 millimeter, and this guy pens 26 millimeter. So you can see right there. And of course, the creme de la creme, the Prussian back in the day was called the Grover Kurzfürst, or GK for short. The Prussian is what I really I don't have it, but I still have the GK, and that's what I use. Now, if you take a look at it, oops, sorry. Let me take out the preview here. If you look at it, this is what it looks like. Now, the GK has 12 guns. This only has 8. But you got secondaries all over the side of the ship, and they're all firing. They're all long distance. Look, you can get them out to, starting at 8.3, you can build them all the way out to maybe 11 point. Back in the day, it was 12, 11.5 to 12 now. And that is a great distance, 12.5 for GK. So really good out distance. They penetrate, good fire chances, and they fast firing as well. And that's why I really, really enjoy about the game. If you're into that, if that's something that you want to desire, I recommend going down the German line. And that's what I really enjoyed about the German line of it. And of course, I'll actually take a look at it if you're new to the game. The GK line, if I can find it for you. Where's it at? Let me just analyze this. Rogue battleship, German, and you have the GK. Here it is. This is what back in the day tier 10 for the German line looked like. Right there. Look at how gorgeous this thing is. And let's take a look at it a little bit more closer. You can build this out. The secondaries go out to 12.5. So you see how, look at the range. 4% fire chance with IFHE, 40 millimeter armor penetration. I mean, you're pinning 47 millimeter. This thing is a beast. This thing, I had so many videos on YouTube about guys just driving and brawling, all guns firing, and then now you can fire from both sides. You got 12 of these 420 millimeter guns, which is an upgrade. Really, really awesome, really cool. This is just the epitome of World of Warships right here. This is what made World of Warships so fun, so great. Just seeing like 3 or 4 of these things just traveling down together, but all guns blazing, all guns firing, and that's what, if that is a gameplay style for you that you like, go ahead and try for it. But again, I recommend it. Go down, look at YouTube videos about it. It's really, really fun. Now you got the Behemoth Hanover, really, really fun as well. Try that out, but that is a super ship. Won't talk about that too much, but that's the line I would grind down. Now you have the secondary focus ships of the, now if I really want to recommend you guys, I encourage you guys to go down the Schlieffen line. The Schlieffen line starting around tier 8, 9, and 10 is where the secondaries really kick butt. I mean, these things have like insane reloads. I mean, you're on 2.2 second reloads. You got the same, like even more guns on each side. These things have torpedoes. Let's take a preview of what the Schlieffen looks like. Again, if you're new to the game, this is what it looks like. Schlieffen is a focused on secondaries, but also with torpedoes. So you're literally a brawler, close attack kind of thing. These torpedoes reach out to what? Let's see, where are the torpedoes? Yeah, and 13.5 kilometers, which is a really great range for a brawling battleship. Guns all over the side. They reach out to 12.5 as well. And you have 8 guns that are very nice reload on them, 27 seconds, which is decent. The only downside is you don't have as much armor, as you can tell. The hit points is only 76,000, but when you're comparing to things like Vermont GK, you're up in near the 80, 90, 100,000 range. So this may not be the most tankiest of battleships, but it's the most fun for secondary and brawling. So that's my recommendation going down the German line. The cruiser line of the German is okay. The Hindenburg is very, very powerful. However, I feel like nowadays I don't see very many Hindenburg's runes playing these days. Just because of the way the meta is and what people want these days. And then obviously the destroyer line is my favorite, although I don't recommend going down it because honestly it's kind of a A difficult ship to play. The gimmick is that's hydro that goes out to 6 kilometers, but that forces you to use it. In order to use it, you have to drive in so close, and now you're exposing yourself. And with today's radar, submarines, and carriers, it's a very difficult to ship now to play. I recommend the Elbing line. If you do want to go down the German line, I recommend going the Elbing because Elbing is a behemoth. Why? It is a monster. It literally can pen cruisers and battleships easily with the big 150 millimeter guns, 13-kilometer range, the way I build it. No commander, by the way. Survivability, you have 30,000 HP. Look, now remember what I told you about the gearing? Earlier, gearing only had about 20-something thousand. This has 30,000. So if I recommend going down the German destroyer line, which I am a DD main destroyer, is the Elbing is what I would recommend, and so forth. So I am not a sub guy. I'm not a carrier guy. You can go down those if you want. What is the next line I would go down? I would go down the, now, if you're a torpedo person, this is where you would break off. I honestly would recommend going down the UK line because the UK line is also another gunboat DD main kind of style for me. But if you want to go torpedo line, you can go down the Japanese line because the Japanese focus on heavily on torpedoes and concealment. So that is where Shimakaze comes, this line down here. So if you want to play torpedoes, go down the destroyer line for the Japanese. The Japanese all the way down to Shimakaze which is what bread and butter back in the day everybody wanted to get to, because why? You can basically shoot three sets of 5 torpedoes that do massive damage, and the range is you can build out to 20 kilometers. They have shorter range torpedoes if you want. I typically pick the longer range because I just want to shoot things out there and let them just keep going, and hopefully I get a quick hit. But look, 20,000 damage, which is really great for these kind of torpedoes, and that's without a commander or any upgrades. But my favorite that I went down the Japanese line was the Haragumo. So if you're a gunboat person, if you don't want to focus on torpedoes, right on this line Shimakaze, and you can break off right here and go down the Haragumo line. The Haragumo, Kitakaze, Akazuki, very, very powerful destroyers because why? They have a lot of guns that fire really fast, start a lot of fires, and pen really, really good. Look at this. Here, I'll just look at the stats of the gun. 100 millimeters, but they pen 30 millimeter. You see armor penetration on there, 30 millimeter. You also have fast firing, 2.5 reloads, and you have a lot of them. So most destroyers, you notice, only have 3 sets of turrets, and this has 5 sets of turrets, and it comes with torpedoes. So this is a great all-around gunboat. The only downside is it doesn't have any heels, and it's very clunky and slow, and they're very, very large for what a destroyer is to fit all those guns and everything on board. But it is a fun line to play. A good concealment, get smoke. You can shoot from smoke. If you want to try that game, nowadays the meta does not support shooting from smoke. Smoke is a magnet for torpedoes. That is a tip for you new guys out there. Don't sit in the smoke and torp and shoot from it, because why? If I see smoke, I'm launching torpedoes at it or popping radar into it, and hey, you're now sitting duck. All right. So I talked about the Japanese line, destroyer line right there. If I was going to go down in another destroyer line, I would pick the British line. This is the other line I went down to play because I needed to grind up quickly. So these are cheaper ships, as you can see. The Lightning, the Jutland, very great. Daring. Why? They have... Well, what's so great about the Daring Jutland line? Well, they have kind of a well-rounded life. Because why? They have heals, which is really great, because if you make a mistake, you have heals, which is what I've talked about in my videos. If you need to get out of dodge or save yourself, or it's just you made a mistake, look what it comes with. It comes with quick smoke to just conceal yourself really fast, and of course the heals here are to bring back your life after making a mistake. Hydro is important because it just spots torpedoes from long distance, so that hey, it gives you extra couple seconds to react. That's my opinion about how that line works. But really, the Daring is a good all-around, good HP, good fast-firing guns. Look at these 113 millimeter guns. They shoot at 2.3 seconds. Great reload. Concealment is also great. If you can see right there, 6.6. I didn't build for concealment on this one. If you want to build concealment, you can go down to almost, I believe, 6 because the commander I picked doesn't have concealment right there. But if you go down to 6 by adding this, it goes down another 10%. And the reason why I'm telling you this is because the builds depend on how your playstyle is, and that's my playstyle for the British line right now, according to the meta, the way it is. And the Daring is great all around. Jutland's great all around for that style of gameplay. So I recommend going down the British style if you like the capping, the smoking, up for concealment, fast-firing guns, torpedoes. If that is what your playstyle is, that's what I recommend. Now, the British line also has a lot of weird gimmicky ships like Minotaur. If you go on the Minotaur line right here, this is like all AP focused kind of style cruisers with smoke and potentially radar if you want. And then you also have the more HE spamming cruisers down here from the Goliath. So you have Goliath, which is basically a monster. If you want to go down this line, the Devonshire, all these Drakes, Goliath, really good focus on HE, burning guys down and coming back with a lot of heals. The Minotaur line is more focused on fast firing AP only guns, but again, you're a light cruiser, so you get citadeled and shot and blown to bits easily. Try it out, play one game, you'll realize how hard it is to play the Minotaur line because of the amount of low HP that you have and the ease of people shooting at you, and you're just a big billboard that says shoot me and blow me up from long distance. Now the other one is the battleship line of the UK. I do like it because it is, again, this is more focused on the Conqueror line is a zombie ship line where you have these amazing heals where you can bring back HP and rebuild the ship from nothing. And also, it focuses on a lot of guns firing HE spam, which means you're burning down a lot of ships. That's the kind of line if that's the play style that you want to play, go for it. St. Vincent is more focused on, I would say, brawling slash AP kind of damage kind of ships because they got some pretty big guns that do a lot of good damage, and they're all kind of in a weird configuration here. So this is this configuration of the Vincent. If you want to go down this line, there it is. Secondaries are in the back, kind of a unique kind of style gameplay. If that is your style gameplay, go for it. I never grinded down this thing right off the bat. It was more kind of a gimmicky thing for me to do. The Conqueror is what I grinded down first after going down the British, what's called Destroyer line. If you want to see what the Conqueror line is, try it out. Look at the game. It's essentially kind of like the Vermont, the big battleship kind of style. Not for brawling secondaries. You can see right here, the secondaries are not that great. Or there's only 4 of them. They don't do much. They're not that great at range. You can see right there, range is not great either. If you want to build for it. Whoops, where is it at? Yeah, this is secondary range. Not the greatest. Can't really build for it as well. But look at that. They got the 12 guns that have a fire chance of 48%. So you are starting fires with this thing. I call this the Pyrotechnics class, zombie style. These are the pyros, basically. They go around killing guys and they never die. So that's the Conqueror line if that's this gameplay style you want. And then the next line I went down was the European line. So if and now you notice the European line right as of right now only has destroyers. That's why I liked it a lot. I only went down right now. I can't wait to get the Gants right here. These are early access ships. These are kind of more focused on the guns. And I can't wait to get my hands on these, and they got radar on them. But right now, let's just focus on the tier tech tree basic line. You can only get grind down this line, and it's more heavily focused on a more torpedo-ish half hybrid gunboat. So if you notice, the Olin, the Ostergotland, the Holland are really focused on the torpedo aspect because why? The torpedoes are super fast. They go 90 knots the way you build, if you build for them. Very quick reloads, long range, 15 kilometers, and that's pretty much it. 112 meter, they only have 2 of these guns, though. That's the problem. The downside, other destroyers have about 3 sets or 4 sets or even 5 sets of guns. You're only getting 2 sets, so you get 1 knocked out. You're kind of 50% reduced there, but they're very quick, fast firing, and they're in a unique position because there's 1 in the front, 1 in the back. And that's the gameplay style that you like. Great, good concealment. AA defense is very, very high. 87 on the AA defense. Again, AA is trash today, but again, if you want to play that, go for it. Delarna is the super version of it. You want to grind down that as well. So the Holland line, I definitely recommend. The Shimakaze and the Holland lines are great for torpedoes, and obviously the Holland for great gunboat action. This next tier line, the Gantz line, is really coming. It's going to be really fun as well. I didn't go down any of these. These didn't really exist back in the day. There's not many in the Commonwealth. Pan American I haven't really grinded down as well. A lot of guys are starting to play that. These are just newly released. I don't recommend them right now as a beginner. Netherlands, this is more heavily focused on airstrikes and more kind of burning. I heard the Gudenlau is pretty powerful today. If you like the airstrike capability and the guns of a Gudenlau that are not at the greatest, but they do start good fires, and in situations that do warrant it, it is a decent cruiser to play. Again, it is easy to kill with this high board side Citadel. And of course, it has the airstrike gimmick that right here, airstrike, bombs, 2 flight, a long reload time. If that is your playstyle, I don't recommend it. If you want to play that, go for it. Pan Asian didn't really exist back in the day, but again, the Pan Asian kind of line is more focused on cruiser, gun action on the Jinan torpedo, deep water torpedo line. And then you have the deep water this is actually similar to the American line. So if you like the American line, go down the Pan Asian. The only difference is the torpedoes and the guns are a little slightly different. Now, the torpedoes are deep water only. The guns are kind of identical, just longer reloads. So Yo Yang actually has a longer reload, and then the Gearing and Chungmu, same as ways. Again, it's the Fletcher class. Just look at the Chungmu. It literally is a Fletcher with deep water torpedoes. Pretty almost identical. And then the other, I would say, gimmick of the Yoyang and Changmu class that it comes with radar. So if you want a Gearing Fletcher class and with radar instead of smoke, boom, there it is right there. So that's the tech tree line for the Pan American. I recommend if you want to go down that line. So again, let's just recap. I would personally go down the American line first and then the German line. If you just want to start out to get to know the game, learn how secondaries work for the Germans. You want to learn the ballistics with the battleships American. If you want to learn destroyer gameplay, go down the American line or Japanese line. Pan Asian is a question mark if you want an American destroyer that has radar and deep water torpedoes. Now, the last three, as Italy, France, and USSR, is for those players that just want to have just sheer raw firepower and armor. They are big, just like the Soviet mantra is they're just big, they're tough, and they're juggernauts, right? And that's exactly what it was. Back in the day, we had Kremlins that were so overpowered. I think going down, what I would recommend is going down the Kremlin line if you want to go focus on that. The battleship literally is like Soviet Soyuz, Kremlin, everything. They look like this. Just looking at it, it just says tank. The big star in front. You watch a lot of World War II movies. You see a big red star. You're going, oh, crap, this thing is going to be tough to kill. And there you go. Big, big guns, 457 millimeters, tons of armor, 108,000, six figures right there. Secondaries are worthless. This thing is just a wide, look at that thing, juggernaut, big butt. Just wants to drive in, take punishment, and just say, how you doing? I'm here. Shoot at me. If that's a gameplay style you want, go for it. They are a little clunky. They're big, but they do survive a lot. And then the next line I would go down is the cruiser line, because the Soviets are known for their great long-range radar. Back in the day, they had other cruisers. Then Petra wasn't there. Riga, Talon. Yeah, Talon. The reason why people like this line so much, you hear very, very famous names like Moskva and Stalingrad. You hear those because they have the long-range radar. And if you can see right here, oops, I'm sorry. I didn't click on Petro. Let me click on Petro for you guys. Petro class right there. And then you go to equipment for Petro, and you can see that the radar is right there as a consumable, and it's out to 12 kilometers. 12.5 on some, I believe. I think 12 kilometers is the max. Some I believe they go out to 12.5. Forgive me if I'm wrong. I remember back in the day it used to be just 12, and I think that's still the same case. But 12-kilometer radar is the longest radar I've seen so far. And then you have 18-second consumable time. The Moskva and Stalingrad cruisers go a little bit longer. You have the other cruiser on next to it, the Nevsky. I haven't actually grinded down to this. I don't know why I have not done that. Yeah, I haven't grinded down. But if you want to see the radar on the Nevsky last a little bit longer, if that's your, look, a little bit 30-second radar. So you can reveal destroyers inside of smoke. They're pesky there. These radars do not spot submarines at certain distances or whatever. They have to be on the surface. So kind of useless almost against submarines unless they're on top of the surface and within range. But that's pretty much the cruiser line for the Nevsky. It's a light cruiser with fast-firing guns, if that's what you want to do. Again, I recommend just going down the Petra line. The very highly armored Nevsky is also a light cruiser brand, but again, also quick firing, but also kind of hard to kill as well. So I do recommend these two if you want to, but definitely recommend the Petra line. Petra is more of you stick my nose in at you, get shot at, armored, and very accurate, very quick reloading guns, and the radar, of course. Nevsky, Donskoy are very deadly radar ships that have fast-firing guns that really eat destroyers alive and support everybody else and burn everything down. The destroyer lines are just, these guys are very tough to kill and very difficult to play against. But this requires a little bit higher level of skill because you are spotted from the moon, which means that you're spotted first. See first, shoot first, or see first, shoot first is kind of mentality for other destroyers. These don't really do that. You have to be spotted first and get shot at. Grosvoy is actually very powerful, I would say. I would recommend if you do go down the destroyer line of the Soviet side, go down the Grosvoy because it is a very well-rounded destroyer. Decent torpedoes, good fast-firing guns, good concealment, as you can see right there. The concealment on this thing is very decent, down to 6 kilometers if you build for it. Torpedoes go out to 12. Main battery, you can get it down to 3.5 seconds. Very good. Good HP point. I mean, Grosvoy, very, very powerful. and so forth. So that's what I recommend. The CD and cruiser line, you guys can debate on that. I don't like playing them as much anymore. What is the French line? The French line is, again, the focus on it. I went down the destroyer line first. Why? Because the destroyer line was so fun. Because why they focus on, these are speedboats. So the French line, DD line, is speedboat action, which means that you are super fast with slow firing guns, but you're spotted from the moon. So look at 8.6 kilometers, while other guys you saw earlier had 6 kilometers. You are spotted first, but the gimmick is to overcome that is you have a maneuverability speed of 46 plus knots. You can get up to 50 plus knots with the engine boost. Your hit HP pool is decent. It's there. Mogador's fast. Fantastique is fast. This is a great line if you just want to run around with your head cut off, going like gun fast boats, hard to shoot at because you're going so fast, and then you want to burn people down from long distance. That's what I would recommend for that. That's the line that I want to show you. You want to take a look at the Kleber line. The sister ship of the Kleber is the Marceau, which is a premium that does pretty much the same thing, but just different guns that fire a little bit faster, and you have a better concealment. So this is the Kleber and also the sister ship Marceau line. So I would, if that is your gameplay style, I would run the Kleber, the destroyer line down first before I start going down the battleship line. And then, of course, the cruiser line is for those that like to just run around and shoot. Like, you can burn people down with the Henry. That's the tier 10 burning down cruiser line. Charles Motel, St. Louis, same way. The Cherbourg, Brest, and Marseille more like brawling cruisers because all the guns are up front. It's kind of that unique kind of Jean Bart kind of play style. It's a lot of other ships that are like that, where they have put the guns all up in front and you kind of nose in most of the time. See, this is more like a nose in action kind of aspect of the battleship line. If this is the kind of style battleship line you want to play, go for it. I recommend going down really the Henry line. I really would focus on the battleship line and the French. For those brand new players, focus down the DD line and then the battleship line, because the aspect is that I really like was first back in the day was really drew me is the Alsace. Why? I had secondaries all over. I'll show you the preview of it. What made this ship really fun to play back in the day was the just fast firing, a lot of secondaries. I mean, I remember I told you I love secondaries. Secondaries are all over this thing. Unfortunately, these get knocked out more easily than the GK Prussian line, because as soon as it takes one hit, boom, they're all dead. Like half of them are dead. So they don't fire like great, but the reload time is amazing. 2.1 seconds. You got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 9 on one side all firing. Really, really cool. You also have 4 quad turrets, 3 of them. That's 12 guns all firing. So this is battleships. I mean, this is what World of Warships was, is just warships with guns all over it firing, which really made me enjoy the game. Unfortunately, this thing has been power crept. It's not as powerful anymore. 380 millimeter doesn't do the job as well. Dispersion's terrible, but if you just want to see a lot of guns firing, Alsace, and then of course Republic is known for its big guns that are very accurate, more of a sniper kind of level kind of ship. If you want, play this line. Secondaries do some damage. They do. I mean, I've built them out to go out to 12 and a half kilometers, but there's so little of them and they're easy to knock out that's not the real recommended gameplay. The real bread and butter of this battle line is really the 8 guns total of 431 millimeters. Very accurate, quick reloading, long range. Look at the range of these bad boys. These bad boys go out to 26 kilometers, and with a spotter plane, maybe going out to 29, 30. So if that's a sniper kind of role play, then you want to go down, I would recommend down the French line. Italian line was kind of introduced later on in the game, and I don't really focus on much of the Italian line. I think it's the destroyer line's not that powerful because why? The guns only have a range of about 9.6, while you got destroyers that shoot from 12 to 13. That's not really powerful in my opinion. It's got very good speed and good armor, but detection is very poor. It's got the crawling smoke, whoop-de-doo. I would recommend, honestly, go on the Venezia line. The Venezia line is so powerful. I mean, you have literally 15 guns. Like, you have 5 sets of 3, 15 guns of sap firing guns. If you don't know what sap is, semi-armor piercing, which means that it's a combination of armor piercing and HE put together of both worlds. It basically, it doesn't start fires now, but improved angles with a lot of damage that penetrate a lot of armor. So that's what these guns, I mean, look, 15 sets of these things, or 3 sets of 5, which is 15 total guns. A lot of secondaries, but those secondaries don't really do much nowadays in cruisers. I've even tried to build this on the battleship line. They don't do very much on the Italian line. If you want to focus on secondaries, focus on the American line and the German line. But the secondaries are really focused heavily on the German line. Colombo is your last tier 10 goal for the Italian line. It's really kind of a gimmick, in my personal opinion, because why? All the turrets are 360 turret, or I'm sorry, not 360, but they're forward. The back turrets are 360, which means that they turn around 360s. You don't have to wait for them to turn all the way around. If you turn the ship around, you can keep these guns facing forward while the back turrets are just following a 360 south. So you kind of have what, 4 times 4, 16, 16 big guns, 381 that shoots sap 96 millimeter pen. 96 millimeter pen does a lot of damage, 12,500. And these things are always kind of forward facing if you play it right. And the secondaries, there's a lot of them, but they don't do as much. So that's kind of like the lines that I recommend. I don't think I missed any right here, right? So I talked about the Japanese, American, Soviet, German, British, French, Italian, Pan-Asian, Europe, Netherlands, Commonwealth, and Pan-American. So that's a tech tree line right there in a nutshell. I hope that added some kind of value to you guys. Let me know in the comments below what you think. What would you rearrange? What do you recommend better? It helps out the community too, because again, I could be wrong about a lot of things. This is just the way I played it when I first grabbed the game. I didn't have this many countries when I first started. Really, at the beginning, it was just maybe like 1, 2, 3, 4, maybe like 6 countries at the beginning that I had to play with. But I focused on American and the Germans for the battleships and destroyer lines, and then Japanese when the British lines were the next, followed by the French and the Soviets were more of the gimmicky, kind of like, hey, I'm big, I'm fast, I'm clunky, or I'm armored. And those were the hard to kill kind of ships that required a little bit more skill level to play. And then the Pan-Asian, Europe, Netherlands, Commonwealth, Pan-American were added later on in the game. And those are starting to come up to fruition. They're starting to add cruisers and battleships to these lines as well. So keep on following the channel and following other guys as well. I recommend watching other YouTube channel guys that you can see and what the recommendations are, what's coming, what's new. I mean, they're releasing new updates every month. And that's my take on it. But again, thanks for all the support. Thank you for all the guys that have supported the channel on being there. Like, subscribe, bell button below. Appreciate all the support. And hope you guys are doing well. Be safe out there. And again, thank you for all the attention you guys and watching the video. Take care and be safe. Cheers.